Hi everyone. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about libraries. So the context here is obviously in the last set of videos you kind of learned a bit about coding and started writing some functions that might be useful in other things. It turns out that a lot of programmers have already written functions that are useful in other things, and they package these into libraries that are then available to download, so that you don't have to do all the hard work of coming up with a whole data structure like every time and writing functions to interact with that data structure. A lot of that hard work is done by these external libraries. And these are sort of split into two broad sections. So there's kind of external packages, which are packages like, for example, the 903 validator that we're working on is an example of an external package that we're going to create together. The library that we're going to use a lot later on in this course and later on today is pandas. But the main set of libraries that come packaged with Python are called the Python standard library. And if you just Google that, you'll get to this this page on the python.org page, and I'll add a link to this in the summary as well. That kind of talks through all the different things that's in the standard library with Python, and this is. You can see there's, for example, a library for working with strings and doing operations with strings. There's a library for working with Unicode data or dates. And the way these libraries work, you can see they all have these different names. And I think for now we can focus on dates, because dates are actually going to be important for our work. So I can go here, and this tells me this is the datetime library. I can look through here and see what's in that library, but what I want to know is how do I actually get that into the code. So if you go back to your sort of main Python window in Replit and just type import datetime, and if you just run this, you won't see any output. But and you can see here actually the reason this is highlighted green is because the editor is trying to tell me, although it's a bit hidden up there, if I sort of just bring this down a little bit, but the editor's trying to tell me that the import's unused, and you can see here datetime imported but unused. However, say that we want to use this datetime type, which is in the datetime library. So now I can say I want my datetime to equal datetime.datetime, and you can see you get the information here on the screen about how to use it. But having used it before, I can tell you the way this works is it's year, month, day, hour, minute, second are the 6 arguments. So if I want to do one for today's date, which is the 26th of July, I can do 2021, 7th of July, 26th is the day, and right now it's 1340. And if I print this object and run that, I get this sort of readout of the date. And these objects, and again, you can look through the documentation here and see what if you look for datetime objects here. There's all this information about what a datetime object can do, and also how to create them. So you can create one that just shows the current date and time. You can create one like I did with a specific date and time, and here you can see the attributes. So I can get the year, month, and day by just reading it off. So I can do print dt.year, dt.month, dt.day. If I run that, we just get those attributes read out. So that's an example of the standard library, and there's loads more stuff in here that you might end up wanting to use in other projects or this project down the road as well. However, we actually want to also use packages outside of the standard library. So these are ones that aren't immediately supported and given to you with Python. They're ones that open source maintainers usually outside of Python manage and work on. If some of you have obviously heard of Anaconda or are using Anaconda, Anaconda is different from Python because it's Python together with a bunch of external packages that come by default but are very heavily used. So the main packages that we care about are going to be packages like pandas, which is a package for working with data, and NumPy, which is a package for working with kind of numerical data that's much faster than doing it traditionally in the kind of standard library way. So when I'm writing these import statements, what I'm writing here is I'm saying import the library called numpy, but let me refer to it as np. And same for the pandas, import pandas, but let me refer to it as pd. And what this means is that rather than having to, every time that I want to use something from the library, if I just wrote import pandas, I'd have to write pandas.dataframe to get a pandas data frame out of there. Whereas if I write as pd, I can then write just pd.dataframe, which is much shorter. And the last thing that I want to say about libraries is that, so there's the standard libraries, there are these external libraries, and there's also the opportunity for you to create your own libraries. And obviously that's what we're doing with the 903 validator. But it's also as simple as if you create a second file here, you can import code from that file. And often when you're working on a bigger sort of library, that in itself will be made up of lots of small files with different parts of the code in it. But probably you're thinking, okay, so what's a data frame? This is going to be very key to the rest of the kind of coding we're going to be doing around working with pandas. So that's the next part that I'm going to jump into today.